Shalom Aleichem, Evenu Shalom Aleichem, Evenu Shalom Aleichem, Evenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Evenu Shalom Aleichem, Evenu Shalom Aleichem, Evenu Shalom Aleichem, Evenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleinu, Le'yavo Yisrael, Le'emeru Avinu, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Le'yavo Yisrael, Le'emeru Amen, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Le'yavo Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Yisrael, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Yisrael,
Folks, the bar is open.
Classification at that time to make it to the major leagues. And so they had a great system in in Cincinnati, they developed a lot of great players that went on to have terrific careers, not only with them, but with other teams too. But that Big Red Machine was a really, really tough team. All those guys went on to have great careers. But Rose is an interesting character. We had great times. We did, you know, he was not like he is now. There was no gambling. He was all gung-ho baseball. But he couldn't, when I first saw him, when he joined us in Geneva, he couldn't do anything but run apart to first base. He couldn't hit, couldn't throw, couldn't field. He just developed into the player he became. All-star in 5 positions, I think. Again, more hits than anybody in the history of the game. If you would have said that that's going to happen way back in 1960, I would have said you're crazy.
That was a rookie league team?
It was not a rookie league. It was a regular minor league Class D, which is Class A now. Class D, the lowest classification you can go. Yeah. They had each team. There was less teams now. Remember, there was only 16 teams then. It was much harder to get to the big leagues and move up in those days. And in 1962, they expanded to 20. And in 1969, expanded to 24. Right? 24.
Yeah.
2 teams in 69.
What was the best ball player that you ever
Well, Willie Mays was the best player. But then you'd go to travel to Atlanta and you see Aaron and you see him hit and you say, who's better than him? And then you go to Pittsburgh and you say, Clemente, who's better than him? I had the luxury of playing against, I think, the greatest conglomerate of players in the history of the game. In early 60s to mid 60s to early 70s. I mean, particularly in the National League. The National League was so tough. So many great teams. And I was lucky enough to play against these great players who I was in awe of. I just looked at them and watched them take batting practice. And when I got a chance to play first base, it was great because you could say hello to them.
If these players play today, how could they even pay them? How could they pay them?
The players today?
If those players played in today's era, you couldn't pay them.
Yeah.
So, Art, growing up, did your parents want you to be golf there or another profession?
No, my parents and my dad was really into sports and baseball. He, you know, my mom not so much, but I was lucky. I had parents that really encouraged me to do it. My dad, but my dad was on the other side of the coin. He was overkill. He would get to, when I got to the big leagues, he'd be at the ballpark at 5:30 watching batting practice. And if I got, but you know, he was good, and he still would have taught me the game. But you know, if I got 2 hits in a game when I was a kid, he'd say, "What happened to the other 2? Why don't you get 2?" So he was good and not so good, but he was really the one that encouraged me, and you know, he was there. You know, watching me as a kid growing up, but they took care of you, and it's different now. They have doctors for everything now. It's
Sleep doctors.
They got everything there. Every locker room's got a weight room. Every locker room's got. I was in spring training this year. They brought me down to spring training. Mets did, I guess, part of this 50th anniversary this year, and so. Myself and Eddie Cranepool and Cleon Jones were down there for the weekend, and went into the locker room there where they train in Port St. Lucie, and they got chefs in there cooking meals. We used to get a soup and some cold vegetables. We you know, they didn't give us anything. These guys are got chefs cooking for them. What do you guys want? Do you want some filet mignon? You know,
How strange does it feel? It's 50 years.
It's not so strange for me in a sense because I live in New York and I get it every day. Somebody talks to me about the team, or that year. I think the guys that live out of New York probably don't feel it as much as I did. And Eddie Cranepool, who's out on Long Island, and Buddy Harrelson, who's ill now. We're all in the area, so people kind of talk about the '69 team, but it's. You know, we're all older. My new book, which I have here today, After the Miracle, is about the camaraderie we had as a team and the love we had for each other. But the other thing that's important that I wanted to write about is aging. we've all aged. We've lost 10 members of that team. And I've got that piece out there. I donated it.
That's a great picture.
It's a great piece.
Yeah.
But that piece has got 28 original signatures. We did it in the 90s, but and 3 Hall of Famers with Yogi and Seaver and Ryan. But we've lost on top. There was 3 missing who had already passed away. It was Gil and Cal Kuntz and Rube Walker, but we've lost 7 since then. But those 7 are on there, thankfully, and so it's really a wonderful piece. And but you know, we all feel that aging, and so I think less for the guys who talk about it, like with fans like yourself. I think the guys that live outside of New York don't get it as much, and so it probably feels like a lot different for them. But for me, I feel, you know, I always love talking about it as more part of my life, and it was a very special
That was such a
thing.
fantastic.
Can I get a shot with these guys over here?
Uno más, mamacita. That is a wrong group. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you right now,
That
this
is good.
group right here can beat the Miami Marlins.
All right. That sounds
You want in the picture?
good. Hold it now, the young ladies. All right, here we go. That is nice, beautiful. One more, that is good, beautiful. Okay, everybody, just do this. Good. All right. One more.
Good evening. Welcome to our JFS 50th Anniversary 1 Community Gala. My name is Ronnie Salkin, and I am the Executive Director of Jewish Family Services of Middlesex County. Thank you for joining us for what is sure to be an amazing, fun evening. Cruise and raffle tickets are available to purchase throughout the evening at table 10 in the back. 50 years of service to the community. How about that? Pretty great. Thank you. And with friends like Vicki, Joel, and Lena, we are sure to be here for generations to come. I need to take just a few minutes to tell you a little bit about these three incredibly special people. I've known Vicki for several years, and there is no one more loyal to JFS. How to describe Vicki? Vicki is beautiful, inside and out, smart, caring, selflessly devoted to her family, to JFS, and to those in need in our community. With a grace and warmth that radiates from her very presence, Vicki is a model for all of us to emulate. We love you, Vicki. Thank you for your selfless devotion and generosity to JFS and our community. Joel. I've known Joel for the shortest amount of time, but I could tell from the first time I met him just how special he is. We were showing his Holocaust movie, Oro Macht Frei, and of course I had to step out to dry my eyes, when I nearly walked into Joel, who gave up his Sunday morning to answer questions from our audience on the film. Joel is kind, patient, and caring. In fact, taking care of others is what he does and who he is. When Joel walks into a room, you can feel his spirit warming and calming those around him. Thank you, Joel, for being such a special friend and a great person. And Lena. I've known Lena for several years, and she, like our other honorees, is a treasured friend to JFS and to all of those in need. Lena works tirelessly for our community. I really don't know how she does it all. She's like the Energizer Bunny. I'll see her at an event in the morning, then get an email from her in the afternoon, and then I'll see a photo of her at a function the very same evening. And that's in between caring for her family and friends, and all the animals she's rescued. A woman after my own heart. Thank you, Lena, for your caring and dedication to your community and to JFS. And my sincere gratitude to all of you for your generosity and support, which allows us to continue to provide vital programs for those in need in our community. Just think, we are probably helping someone you know, the friend of a friend, a relative, a neighbor, a lonely senior, a Holocaust survivor. For 50 years, JFS Middlesex has been serving the community with passion, dedication, and care. Our mental health counseling strengthens so people can live full lives. Our support groups help repair families struggling with addiction and conflict. Our Immigration and Citizenship Department helps residents become citizens and brings families back together. Our career programs bring hope and help to the unemployed and underemployed. Our kosher food pantries, Passover food packages, kosher Meals on Wheels, holiday gifts for children, and school supplies provide critical support to those in need all year long. Our Women's Center gives women the strength and skills to reinvent themselves after the loss of a partner. Our volunteer programs bring joy, both to the volunteers and the ones they help. And our socialization programs mean that seniors and Holocaust survivors enjoy the company of others instead of being home alone. Speaking of our Holocaust survivors, what an incredible group of people. My special thanks to everyone who purchased a ticket for one of our survivors to attend tonight. I'd like to ask our Holocaust survivors to please stand if you are able. special place in our hearts. We love you dearly for your spirit and for your commitment to spreading the message of love, not hate, in the face of what you endured. You are an inspiration, and I am in awe of you. Thank you for joining us this evening. One more special thank you. Would all the JFS staff members present please stand? JFS would not be the special place it is without your hard work and dedication to caring for those in need. People don't know how you open your own wallets for clients, drive food to people who can't get to the office, how you share your personal cell numbers and give up your free time to help our clients. What an amazing group with whom I am honored to work. Thank you. And this evening would not be the special event that it is without the incredible work of Judy Cavalieri and Jeannie Jarmus. These two awe-inspiring women have worked relentlessly for months putting this whole evening together. Thank you for the gifts of your time and passion in helping ensure that our beloved agency continues to serve the community for many years to come. Okay, enough of me, right? Now I'd like to call up one of my favorite partners in the community, and I'm pretty sure I'm one of her favorite partners too, but she can't say that. A woman who works tirelessly for the Jewish community day in and day out. Without the support of the Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey, JFS would not be able to do all of the great work that we do every day. Please join me in a round of applause for the Executive Director of the Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey, my friend, Susan Antman.
Good evening, everyone. As Ronnie said, my name is Susan Antman, and I'm the Executive Director of the Federation in the heart of New Jersey. It's such an honor for me to be here tonight to celebrate 50 years of Jewish Family Services' magnificent work in our community. But it's equally my honor to celebrate every single day. As my role with Jewish Federation, to partner with JFS, to foster more support for JFS from the entire community, and to ultimately make our community more caring and connected, stronger, and more sustainable. Together, we strive to make a difference for people in need, who have sometimes need a hand through a very difficult time, or those who may need some reminding that they're part of a community that cares about them, our family. It's my honor and the honor of every Federation staff member, lay leader, and donor to know that we have had a part in, and please listen to the stats I'm going to give you because they are magnificent because of all of you. Bringing more than 26,000 kosher meals to people in their golden years, people who helped build this Jewish community. Funding approximately 13,000 hours of in-home aid for Holocaust survivors aging in dignity and safety in their own homes. Supporting monthly socialization programs for Holocaust survivors and their friends at Cafe Europa. Providing more than 2,000 hours of low or no-cost mental health counseling to those who otherwise would not be able to afford it. Serving more than 200 clients through the Cameo nutrition program in a congregation setting for senior adults, and so much, much more. Tonight, we celebrate the Jewish Family Services' 50th anniversary, its golden anniversary. It shouldn't take an anniversary for me to tell you, Ronnie, Jeff, your entire staff, and lay leaders that Federation sees its relationship with JFS as being as precious as gold. But I would be remiss if I didn't make it a special point on this special golden anniversary. Thank you for walking right beside Federation, arm in arm, in our shared commitment to chesed, caring, tzedakah, justice, and tikkun olam, healing the world. Thank you for inviting Federation and its supporters to participate in these mitzvot with you. And thank you most of all for changing lives. Happy 50th anniversary.
I'm not only the bringer of light, just one of many hats that I wear. I'm also today's friendly auctioneer. And I come bearing gifts. Does anybody know what this is? I have a connoisseur over here. I like that. Does anybody know what kind of tequila it is? Very, very kosher. Clase Azul actually means kosher in Espanol, I believe. And because it is Sunday, everybody's favorite day to drink tequila. Start the week off right. I can start the bidding at the very family-friendly price of $1. Who would like a little table tequila to really get this party started? Sir, welcome to the bidding pool. The water is nice. Dip those sweet toes of yours right in. Very nicely done, sir. Gentlemen's bid at $1 on this side. Would anyone like to bid $2? Madam, welcome. I have $3 right there. Oh, with the paddle, no less. Not your first rodeo, is it, sir? We got our old Bronco Buster over there. I like it with that jaw. We have $3 right there. What's that? That's it? I like the side commentary. $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10. Oh, a little bit of momentum now. This is exciting. Would anybody bid $12? $12 right there, 14, 16, 18, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 75, 80, 85. The power of the auction is alive and well in this room. Would anybody like to just get crazy and bid $100? Bless your heart. $100. Oh! Sir, do you want to add a zero to that? Just make it a cool 1,000? Okay. I'll cut you a discount. How about 125? 125. Would you make it 150? 150. Would you make it 175? Would you make it 200? Would you make it a 250,000? 1/4. Would you make it 1/3 1,000? Yes. $333.33. Nicely done. Would you make it a 1/2,000? Would you make it 3/4 1,000? What about 5/8? 17/23. How about this? How about this? How about 555th thousandths? Does anybody know what I did there? I made a math joke, which is everybody's favorite joke. Everybody's like, that's my favorite genre of jokes, math jokes. Gentlemen's bid at $500 right there. Would you make it 550? The double nickel. No, look at him. Well, he loves tequila. Everybody drinks tequila. One more bid. $550. Thank you so very much. $6 there. This is. How about this? If it's not a bidding war, it's definitely a bidding skirmish. I'll take it. When was the last time that you got to drink tequila and help Holocaust survivors at the same time? It's a unique opportunity. tequila be virtuous? Would you? So we're at 600 over there. 650, one more? You're going to let him have it. Well, you know what? It takes a village, and I really appreciate your wonderful underbidding. Gentlemen's bid at $600 for our opening auction lot this evening. Going once. Going twice. And 600. Paddle number 10, the 1603. Yo, thank you. Did you see that jaw on that guy? He was not going to let go. Impressive. You know what? You put a short, white guy in a tartan suit and too much hair gel, you let him free with a microphone. I didn't even introduce myself, did I? I just said, I'm your auctioneer. Like, who the heck is that? My name is C.K. Sweat. It's a real going name. Clinton Kenneth Sweat is my full name. And I have the great honor of traveling around the world and even better to East New Brunswick to raise money for incredible causes. And I only have one more thing to sell, in just a sort of an order of operations. Only one more thing to sell. And then we're going to have a short video, and then there's just going to be one more little piece of program. And I think that it will be, I think that it will just help frame why we go to the time and the trouble to have events like this. So one more auction item. For all my theater lovers, we have 2 tickets on June 14th to go see Pretty Woman the Musical. Mezzanine level, June 14th, 8 p.m. And 2-night stay at the Row Hotel on 8th Avenue between 44th and 45th. It's a penthouse suite. I hear it goes for like $2,500 a night. You are going to be living in luxury. So, if you love the theater, if you love a love story, you love luxury. Opening bid. Opening bid is only $100, and that is a steal. Who's going to go see Pretty Woman on June 14th at 8 p.m. with a 2-night stay at the Row Hotel? We have 100 there. Who's going to bid it at 200 right now? We're at $100. Everyone's at 100. 200. Thank you. 300. Would you make it 400? Would you make it 500, please? 500. Thank you. Would you make it 600? With conviction. Ladies bid at $500. We're all my feet. Ah, sir. You've been my rock of Gibraltar all night. You are keeping out the Mediterranean pirates. I appreciate it. Sir Francis Drake has nothing on you. Oh, girl! Somebody brought their jump rope. That's called a double Dutch bid. He skipped all the way up to $1,000. I like your fancy footwork, sir. We're at 1,000. 11. Make it a dozen. A dozen, make it 13. 13, make it 14. 15. 16. What? She said, hey, you're not paying attention. And you know what he did? He said, 2. 2 is where the cool cats are. We're at 2 right there. Would you make it 21? Would you make it 21? 21. Make it 22. 22. Make it 23. I'm like, it's a variety show. Sir, you and I were on a magical journey together, like a carpet ride. I was going to show you a whole new world. Amazing place I never knew. Because when you're way up here, it's crystal clear. The $2,300, 3,000. I will sing all the Disney show tunes you want, sir. This is going a little off track, but I don't care. We're raising money. We're at 3,000. Make it 32. Pretty woman, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes? No. Gentleman's bit over here. Sir, what happened to my gentleman bit over here? Are you going to come back? Can we get a round of fireball shots to table 12, please? 17? That is a confusing font they choose. Is that New Helvetica? What is that over there? Gentleman's bid right here, $3,000. At $3,000, paddle number 0501. Our only main auction item this evening. I didn't even get to use my wooden hammer over here. Everybody looks good gavel. Fair warning, gentlemen's bid $3,000. And this is a steal when compared to this piece of wood with oil on it that sold at Christie's for like $450 million. This fake Da Vinci last year. Going once, going twice. Thank you to my underbidder. Sir, you are a scholar and a gentleman, and you love theater and selling for $3,000. So we're going to bring the lights back down for a quick second, and then we're going to bring them back up. We're going to bring them back up. So please do turn your attention to this very just illuminating video about really the reason why we're all here. Thank you very much. I've got an interesting job, right? There's a certain sort of magic in being able to turn a $100 bottle of tequila into $500. I get to travel around the world and sell things, and I wish I had more tequila to sell, but I don't. If you haven't had a chance to go to Cafe Europa, I encourage you to do so. On Tuesday, I sat down with Haya. Hi, Haya. Look at that smile. And we were digging into our kosher lo mein and just sharing a meal. And in my work as a charity fundraiser, I've had the pleasure of visiting orphanages in Haiti and having lunch with school kids in the south of China, in school buildings in Guatemala. But sitting with you, Haya, and just your warmth, your humanity. Meeting Ludmila from Kiev and all of your Polish friends. And then meeting Sylvia. And Sylvia was a little bit older. She's 95. She turned 95 in March. And it just, and she was there with her son. And Alan had a picture on his phone of his mom when she was 14 years old in Luket, Czechoslovakia, her whole family. And 6 years later, she was in Auschwitz. And to have that pivot, and then to survive, and then to have a son and come to America, and still be shown this love, to sit down and share a meal of kosher Chinese food on a rainy Tuesday at the end of May in 2019. I can present those facts, but there's no other way I can garnish it. All I can say is that on the 50th anniversary of JFS Middlesex, if we put the emphasis on you, Haya, and this is the reason why we wear these dumb suits and sell these bottles of tequila, because the end result is transportation and dental care and kosher Chinese food on a rainy Tuesday afternoon at the end of May for women like you, Haya. I don't have anything more to sell, but we're going to try to come together and get as close as possible to raise $1,000 for every year that JFS Middlesex has been providing the services. I don't know. That would be double what we raised last year, so even if we get above $25,000, that will be incredible. We're going to push as hard as possible to get to $50,000. And I know that we have someone lined up to do $1,800 because of the resonance of that number, but I want to double that resonance. We don't have anybody lined up. But if you can hold up your paddle, make a commitment to women like Kai, to women like Sylvia, to Ludmilla, to the 100 Holocaust survivors that were in Cafe Europa on that afternoon. And the $3,600 level, if you can hold up your paddle and make a $3,600 commitment, I'm going to try to do the math here and see how close we can get this room to raising that $50,000 mark. 0805, sir. Thank you very much. That's one right there. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there a second pledge at 3,600? At 3,600. And I encourage you, if you have any liquid left on your table, finish it now. They say that Manischewitz is like the Gatorade of charity auctions. It really helps them loosen up the deltoid and the tricep. We don't want any shoulder cramps here tonight. Is anybody else at 3,600? At $3,600. Give you a second more. I'm now going to take it down to the $1,800 level. If you can hold up your paddle and make an $1,800 commitment, please do so now. There's a gentleman right there. One of our volunteers, please go over to that table, please. He does not have a paddle. Oh, yes, he does. Yeah, I know who you are. That's $1,800 right there. Thank you. Is your second pledge of $1,800? 1204. Thank you. Is anybody else at $1,800? At $1,800? At $1,800. This table has been amazing. Thank you. Is that upside? What direction is that? I think it's supposed to be. This way it's 6080, and this way it's 0809. Those are two very different numbers, I think. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's another $1,800 right there. Ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to $9,000 raised in the last 3 minutes. Can I get one more pledge to get us over $10,000 at the $1,800 mark? 1606. Thank you. That tequila's working over there, isn't it? Just pour shots. 1606. Ladies and gentlemen, that's $10,800 raised. So well done. Thank you. I'm now going to take the level down to $1,000. If you can hold up your paddle and make a $1,000 commitment, please do so now. At the $1,000 level, at the $1,000 level. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 070414012006. That's $13,000 raised. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well done. Are there two more pledges at $1,000 right now to get us to $15,000? Are there two more pledges at $1,000 to get us to $15,000? I'll give you a second more here. $1,000. 812 with a 0 on the front. Thank you. That's 14,000. One more will get us to 15,000 now. Thank you for that. At the $1,000 level. 1302, sir. Thank you. $15,000 raised in the last 2 minutes. Thank you so much. I'm now going to take the increment down to $500. If you can hold up your paddle, make a $500 commitment, please do so now. We're going to count this up. 0507, thank you. 1202, thank you. 1701, thank you. At the $500 level, at the $500, that's $16,500 raised. At the $500, that's a smile and something. It's a piece of paper, but I will take it. Thank you right there at table 7. At table 7, we know you're good for it. Thank you. That's $17,000 raised. Can I get one more pledge? One more pledge at $500 to get us to $17,500. Second one. I'm now going to take it down to the $250 level. If you can hold up your paddle, make a $250 commitment, please. Thank you very much. 1206, thank you. 1410, thank you. 0807, thank you. 2101, thank you. That's 4 pledges. With 4 pledges, at $250. Oh, 1607, thank you. Was that another one back there? Yes? Maybe? 1207, thank you. And maybe one there, I don't know, we're going to double check over there. 0607, thank you. And that brings us to $18,750. 1912, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's $19,000 raised to help support women like you, Haya. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with our auction of Pretty Woman at $3,000 and the tequila at $500, that brings us to $22,500. So what we're going to do, here at our last level, at $180, I want to be the first to do. I was so impressed. Who will join me at $180 right now? Please do hold up your paddles high at $180. Oh, I got one right here in the middle. That's 12048 is 3. Thank you. And we're getting numbers at funny angles over here, but I'm going to jog over because the Lord blessed me with 2 working legs. 202, thank you, is 4. Was that a pledge right there? Was that a pledge? Maybe? Playing hard to get with a pledge. I like it. 1403 is 5, thank you. 2008 is 6, thank you. 1408 is 7, thank you. 1610 is 9, thank you. 10402 is 10. So 10 plus 108 times 180 is 1,800 on top of 23,000, which brings us to 24,800. Is there anybody else at 180 right now? 2205, thank you. 2108, thank you. That brings us over $25,000. You are all remarkable. Thank you for that. We just beat last year's total. And that, you know what? All we want to do, we want to be like Haya. We just want to keep getting better every single year. And I'm going to leave you with this last thought. If you were feeling shy, and if anybody in this room, I can appreciate that, I'm very shy myself. Or if you recently had rotator cuff surgery and that's why you couldn't lift your paddle above eyebrow level, there are donation cards on your table. Please consider filling them out with any donation that strikes you as inspiring, because I was inspired. So it could be between $1 and $1 million. Over $1 million, it has to be in 2 installments, so don't be the jerk who does like $1.7 million. It just makes it tough for us. Do $900,000 and $800,000. Be cool about it. But when I sat down with Haya and her friends on Tuesday of last week, I just get to see so much good in this world, and what you are supporting is the good in this world, and don't stop doing that. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, CK, for a really fabulous job. And thank all of you, really, sincerely, for doing that for us all. Thank you. So, welcome, distinguished honorees, guests, staff, and representatives of the Federation in the heart of Middlesex, heart of New Jersey, to our Jewish Family Services One Community Gala. It's with great pride that we celebrate our agency's 50th anniversary. Providing service to people in need. It's a distinctly Jewish value to carry out works of Come Along, to participate in activities to improve the world. This is the mission of Jewish Family Services. Our 50-year history of JFS has evolved into an incredibly diverse and potent organization. We provide a wide spectrum of services to both the Jewish and non-sectarian community. The backbone of our organization is its hardworking staff, its enthusiastic volunteers, and dedicated board members. We have also engaged numerous community partners and take pride in our relationships with the Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey. Tonight, we will pay honor to 3 outstanding individuals, people who exemplify compassion for their fellow man, and through their actions have significantly contributed to improving the lives of countless people. Mrs. Vicki Solomon, our former JFS President Emeritus, Mr. Joel Markle, the founder and president of Preferred Home Health Care and Nursing Services, and Ms. Lena Lona, president of Middlesex County Regional Chamber of Commerce. Please, great rounds of applause for all these wonderful people. Tonight is a celebration of the achievements of these three great people, as well as all of you, who have contributed to the works and success of this wonderful organization. So it's now my pleasure to bring up Mr. Jack Goldberg, past president of JFS, to present the first award to Mrs. Solomon. Thank you.
Good evening, and I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I have a great honor and pleasure of bringing up a friend, most importantly, a colleague, but somebody with such dedication and such enthusiasm and such passion for Jewish family services that it's highly contagious. And when any of us are around Vicki, it happens. Vicki is always there, with the exception of about 3 months ago when we were having a very important meeting, and I said, Vicki won't be here tonight. And somebody said, why? And I said, because she's in Africa. And the response was, she can call in. So, but I defended you, Vic. I've had the pleasure of working alongside of her, of catching that enthusiasm, her dedication to the organization for about 20 years now. And I'm honored and flattered to bring up a friend and a mentor, Vicki Solomon, to accept the award for, what are we calling it, Outstanding Lifetime Achievement? Okay. Mrs. Solomon, come on up.
You're gonna hold it for me?
I'm going to hold it to you.
Oh, good.
I'm going to hold it to you. Jeff is giving me $10.
Hold your paddle up. Thank you for this.
Yes, dear.
Thank you for this honor. As most of you know, none of us do what we do for honors or awards. Our only reason is to help those who reach out to us in need. First and foremost, I want to thank our incredible staff. You work tirelessly. You give your all. You never say, I can't. You just do it. Without you, our agency could not do as much as we do for our community. Thank you to our Board of Trustees. Most of us have worked together for a long time. We work as a unit. We make decisions that are not always easy, but always in the best interest of our clients and our community and our agency. We have a very special Monroe Council. They bring the concerns of the adult communities to our board and have had many successful fundraisers, some of them in this room. When we started, there were about 4 or 5 adult communities. That has changed with tremendous growth in recent years, and so have the needs of those communities. I want to thank my family and friends for being here tonight, for supporting me and JFS. I'm most proud of the fact that my 3 children, my 3 in-law children, and my grandchildren have picked up this adoptee. Robin, Ben, Allie, and Greg, for your work on Robbie's Run, for your support of JFS and the Holocaust Museum at Queens College. To David, Edie, and Gabrielle, for all your hard work at the Jewish Center in Princeton, and for being wise enough to start a mini mitzvah corps for the young ones. That's the way we keep tzedakah going. Start young. To Samantha, TJ, and Ryan, for your support of JFS and all you do for Project to Cure. And last, but never least, to Jeff, for your continued support and encouragement for all of my 31 years with JFS. Your generosity is greatly appreciated, not just by me, but for everyone in this room. And I have one personal note. At my family table, I want to wish my daughter Samantha, my daughter-in-law Edie, my grandsons Greg and Ryan a very happy birthday. We celebrate at our family table all weekend. Once again, thank you for this honor.
All right. Next, we are going to call on Jonathan Herman. Jonathan, who many of you don't know, is Chief Operating Officer, Preferred Home Healthcare and Nursing Services. And who are you going to be introducing?
Joel Markel.
Joel Markel. And I want everyone to pay as much attention as you did to me, to Jonathan, even though I'm a whole bunch funnier.
Thank you, everyone. If the joy in giving yourself and your time and your energy and your capital and certainly donations on a night like tonight, no person should feel more joy and more fulfilled than one of the honorees tonight, who's also my uncle, and that's Joel Markel. And I could speak from a personal experience, because when I was a little kid, both of my parents died at a very young age. And in a time of loss and turmoil, Joel and his amazing wife, my Aunt Stephanie, warmly adopted my brother and me into their home. And now, with the benefit of 3 decades of hindsight, can I appreciate that that was the best gift that I have ever been given in my entire life. So in a small way, tonight, I could give back slightly, and I could feel the joy that you have given to so many people by bringing you up here as one of the honorees for the JFS. Thank you.
Thank you for those beautiful words. What a beautiful crowd this is. I have to tell you that you're extremely handsome crowd. Beautiful women, handsome men, and more importantly, I want to say that when I was asked to be honored, I kept on saying Jewish Family Services, Jewish Family Services, and Jewish Family Services, and that's what this is. However, it might have been Ronnie that corrected me. Where is me? She is Ronnie. And told me that we prefer to refer to ourselves as JFS because we help everyone, anyone who's in need in Middlesex County, and I'm extremely appreciative of that. It's the way I prefer to be, helping anybody that is in need of help. For the short while that my film was up there, I never saw it and I didn't watch it. I was busy preparing a few words here. But my mother was taken to Auschwitz at the age of 15. Thank God she's in Florida at the age of 91 and living beautifully today. It is because of organizations such as JFS that she continues to live a beautiful life. It is my responsibility and a gift to me to be able to help other Holocaust survivors and other members of the Middlesex County community in all of their needs. How deeply appreciative I am to my preferred family. I'm going to ask them to please stand because without them I couldn't possibly be doing this. Preferred Home Health Care Nursing Services family. Truly a gift to have along with me. I've since hired the auctioneer wherever he is. Truly wonderful to have here this evening and doing such an amazing job of bringing out the generosity in all. From a generous organization to a generous guest list, I just want to say thank you once again for having me as an honoree tonight. I wish the other honorees congratulations. And Ronnie, again, there you are. Come up here. I get flowers too. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Jack Goldberg and the rest of the board, I appreciate all that you did and for honoring me this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am going to introduce our JFS Middlesex 50th anniversary honoree for Greater Community Leader, my friend Lena Lona, President of the Middlesex County Regional Chamber of Commerce. I first met Lena about 5 or 6 years ago at a meeting of the Women in Business Committee of the Chamber of Commerce. I walked in, sat at the table, and I felt like I missed something. Lena started talking to me like we were in the middle of a conversation that started months ago. I didn't even know her name. She instantly made me feel like a valued colleague and partner. And then I came to understand that that is who she is. Lena makes everyone feel comfortable, like an old friend, and she means it. She is generous and kind with a warmth that draws people in like a magnet. Over the years, I have been with Lena at dozens of functions throughout the county. She has been a special friend to JFS, always making sure we were front and center at chamber events and highlighting our agency at every turn. She always keeps us in mind, introducing us to potential partners and working with us to help those in need. Now, all these years later, after spending so much time with Lena, I've come to know her on a more personal level. Like my mother, may she rest in peace, I always seem to gravitate to rescuers, and it turns out that, like me, Lena has rescued birds, cats, dogs, and every other stray that has crossed her path. Our more recent efforts have been focused on taking care of people, and I know we'll continue to work together to help our community, and especially those in need, for many years to come. Thank you, Lena, my friend, for being such a great partner to JFS and our community.
Thank you, Ronnie, and thank you, JFS, for honoring me. I truly feel honored. I don't really think I should be up here with these other two honorees, but I do want to share this with you. In my day job, I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and most people think business. It's a business organization, and that's about it. Well, I tell people, businesses employ people. People are business, and people are the community. You're part of the community. What's being done here tonight through these volunteers, through this organization, through all of you who are giving generously, are making this community, Middlesex County, a better place to live, a better place for us, for our children, and for the future. I commend all of you. Everyone should be doing something. That has always been my message. Volunteer. If you can't volunteer, write a check. Do something. But thank you so much for honoring me. But thank you for what you do. That's really my message. And as speaking on behalf of our board of directors and all our 750 member organizations, we're proud of you. We wish that more people can do the work that you do. You are inclusive, and that is very important in this community. So thank you again, and God bless you all.
My 50th's where your tenderness goes, tearing my fear apart. Oh, and they're out there because you know touches my foolish heart.
Hi, my name is Bernie SoCal. I'm honored tonight to have been asked to introduce our champ to get the 1969 World Champion New York Mets. Having grown up in Jackson Heights, about 1 mile from Shea Stadium, I've been a lifelong Met fan. I'm a member of the Jewish Family Services Gala Committee, and when I found out we were celebrating our 50th anniversary as an organization, I thought to myself, so are the New York Mets, and how great it would be to have a member of their team speak at our gala. Art Shamsky immediately came into mind. I knew he was a Jewish ball player, but when I read his bio, I learned that he also managed in the Professional Israel Baseball League and was named ambassador for baseball for the Israel Association of Baseball. I knew he'd be a great featured speaker. Art was a professional baseball player for 13 years, starting his career with the Cincinnati Reds. He also played for the New York Mets, Chicago Cubs, and the Oakland Athletics. Many of you don't know this, but Art actually in baseball's Hall of Fame. At least his bat is. In 1966, in 1966, while a member of the Cincinnati Reds, he tied a major league record by hitting 4 consecutive home runs in 4 at-bats over 2 games. He's the only player in Major League history to hit 3 home runs in a game who was not in the starting lineup. The 4th home run was hit as a pinch hitter in the following game, and that bat is in the Hall of Fame. But 1969 was a special year for Art and the New York Mets. Art batted .300 and led the Mets in the National League playoffs, batting a great .537 versus the Atlanta Braves with 7 hits and 13 at-bat. That's a great numbers. Art has a great new New York Times best-selling book called After the Miracle, about the lasting brotherhood of the 1969 Mets. I avidly read the book, and it is a very touching account of that special season. I highly recommend you buy and read the book, and actually after Art speaks, he'll have a table set outside where you can purchase the book if you're interested. I would like to close my introduction by telling a personal story. Almost 20 years ago, several ex-Mets had an appearance at the New York Public Library on 42nd Street. They were seated behind tables, and I approached Ed Kranepool, who was one of my favorite Mets. He asked for my business card. He then said, if I ever needed a speaker, a bar mitzvah speaker, Art Shamsky was available. So 20 years later, I finally got Art to be speaker of the gala, which is like sort of like a big bar mitzvah. Without further ado, I'm honored to present Art Shamsky.
Does anybody know the name of that song? And who played it at Shea Stadium? Jane Jarvis. Thank you very much for that introduction. It was way too long. But it's great to be here. Congratulations to Jewish Family Services 50 years. I can certainly relate to that. It's been a great 50 years for me, being part of that wonderful championship team. Just taking a look at the crowd here tonight, I realize there's a lot of people here who really know me, and there's a number of people here who have no idea who I am. So I'm going to have to do a little job of trying to make it okay for everybody. Let me just make two announcements real quick. I am going to be out there signing After the Miracle, and thank you, Bertie, for that mention about the New York Times bestsellers. It's a real thrill for me. This book was a labor of love. It's a 50-year kind of remembrance about that team. And we took a trip out to California to see Tom Seaver, who was obviously the best player on that team and wasn't traveling anymore. We took myself and a co-writer, we took 3 other players out there, and we reminisced the long story of how it all came about. But part of the book is about that trip out there. And it's not about Tom Seaver, the book, but it's about camaraderie, friendship, and aging. It's about this process we all have to go through at some point in our life. And now it's this 50-year anniversary. So I hope you enjoy the book, but I'll be out there doing it. And the second thing is, there's a piece I donated for the silent auction that is really near and dear to my heart. I know it's a pretty high tariff on it, but the reality of it, it's that signed photo of the celebration when everybody ran onto the field, and there's 28 signatures on it, original signatures. At that time when we did it, Gil Hodges, Rube Walker, and Cal Kuntz had passed away. But there's 28 originals on it now, and including 3 Hall of Famers, Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan, and Yogi Berra. And quite honestly, the sad part of it is that there's another 7 players who signed that particular piece are not with us anymore. So take a good look at it, because it's a really kind of one-of-a-kind piece that's very dear to my heart, and hopefully somebody might be interested in it. Anyway, I was part of this, what I considered one of the most iconic teams in the history of sports. Again, for those of you who weren't even born, I'm going to try and make it sound like make you try and understand how important this team was. In the history of baseball, I don't think any other team, maybe the 27 Yankees, some of you gentlemen might remember that team. And some of you might remember the 47 Dodgers that had Jackie Robinson. But I don't know of any other team other than those 2 that was more important to the game of baseball or to a city as we were in 1969. And the reason this team resonates so much for 50 years is I'm going to give you, in my opinion, 3 reasons why this team has lived this legacy that is so important to people who want to talk about all the things that happened that year to us as a team and what transpired over the last 50 years. But I'm going to give you my opinion of what the 3 reasons are this team has lived on forever and will live on as long as people talk sports, in particular baseball, in this area. The first thing is you have to remember, for those of us who are old enough to remember, what was going on in the city, the country, and the world at the time. War in Vietnam was tearing the country apart. Assassinations. I know we're in a world that's upside down now, there's no doubt about it, but the world was really upside down back in 1969, the late 60s, early 70s. The city of New York was going under financially, socially, spiritually, morally, every way possible. The war in Vietnam was killing us and killing us literally and figuratively, and tearing us apart. And I think people who were around, who saw us go out there and win a championship, especially a team that was not expected to win. We made people feel better about their lives for a brief period of time. And I think people have passed that legacy on from generation to generation. And I think that's one of the reasons this team kind of lasts forever and people still talk about it. The second reason, I think, is you have to remember where that team came from. For those of you, again, who remember the early 60s, the Mets came into existence in 1962. And for those of you who remember how bad that team was, the record was 40 wins and 120 losses the first year in existence. Now, I don't even know how you could even try and lose 120 games in a season, but the Mets did. In subsequent years, all the way up to 1969, the team finished last, or in 1968, my first year there. I can't take the blame for those early years. I wasn't there. But I was there in '68. We finished 9th, a half game out of last place. So for every year, that team finished last. And I think people remember how and where we came from. I'm going to give you a couple examples of how bad this team was. Does anybody remember the name Marvelous Marv Throneberry? Oh, there we go. Thank God. Holy cow. Glad somebody remembered that name. Well, Marv Throneberry was a player who was a pretty good player. He played for the Baltimore Orioles, and the Mets in 1963 made a trade for Marv Throneberry. So when he came over from Baltimore, somewhere along the way up, either driving or flying or train, he forgot how to play baseball. So he joined the Mets in '63, and they're playing a game in the Polo Grounds. And he hits a ball with the bases loaded in the right center field gap. For those of you who don't know what that means, into right center field. And he stands up at third base with a triple, 3-run score. Mets fans were going crazy, but it was not to be. Casey Stengel is the manager of the Mets. They're playing the Chicago Cubs. Great first baseman for the Cubs, Ernie Banks, calls for the ball, throws the ball to second base, and the umpire at second base calls Marv Throneberry out for missing second base. So that changed the whole scenario. The 1-run scores, Marv Throneberry's out. It created a mess, and of course the Mets would eventually lose the game. But Casey Stengel is the manager, so he wants to argue the play. So he comes out of the dugout and going towards second base, and the first base coach says, Casey, where are you going? I'm going out to argue the play. I don't care. Well, see what happened. Marv decided to go from first to third, just crossed the mound. He didn't think you had to touch second base. He just crossed the mound. But Casey was going to argue the play anyway. So he comes out of the dugout. The first base coach says to him, I don't know the guy's name, and he says, Casey, what are you doing? No, don't go out there. Casey, I'm going out to argue this play. I don't care if he touched it or he didn't touch it. I'm going to argue the play. The first base coach said, well, I don't think you should do that. He said, well, Casey said, why? He says, because he missed first, too. So he didn't touch first, cut across the mound to go to third, and that's how the Mets played those years. But that's one example of how bad that team was. And I think the second reason that the team resonates so much now with people that remember that year is that that team came from nowhere. Lovable losers, we were called. And for us to win a championship in a year that the Baltimore Orioles won 109 games that year, and we won 100 games during the season, I think people remember that and really love the fact that we can still talk about that team today and what we did for all the fans who were back then. Incidentally, a little bit of trivia. You do remember we lost the first game of the World Series, right? Won the next 4. Does anybody here want to take a guess as who made the last out of the only game we lost in the World Series? Tommy Agee? No. I made the last out of the only game we lost in the World Series. We also had a no-hitter pitched against us that year. I made the last out of that game, too. But anyway, the third reason I think that this team resonates and people still remember it was the cast of characters who was on that team. From the great pitcher Tom Seaver to Jerry Koosman to Nolan Ryan was on that team, to all the names that were on there, the characters who made up, and our great manager, Gil Hodges. Everybody remembers that name, right? Gil Hodges, who should be in the Hall of Fame, right? Those characters kind of live on forever because the stories have lived on forever. And one of the players we had on the team was a guy named Tug McGraw. Does anybody know that name? Tug McGraw. He was a character. We're playing a game out in San Francisco, and Candlestick Park is just one of the worst places in the world to play. Cold, windy, really a tough play, but the Giants decided to put AstroTurf on the infield to experiment in this one particular series of games. And this turns out to be the best quote I've ever heard from any professional athlete, whether it's baseball or anything. So after the game, Tug had pitched in the game, and a writer came up to him and said, "Tug, you pitched in the game. What's the difference between natural grass and AstroTurf?" And without beating an eye, Tug said, "I don't know, I never smoked AstroTurf." Can you top that? I mean, that was the characters we had on the team. But those are the three reasons I think this team lives on forever, and I'm able to come and talk to people and share my feelings and talk about the things that happened to me in my career. You know, I played 13 years, and nobody ever talks about the other 12. It's really about 1969. And so many things happened to me in my life because I was part of that team. I did so many shows. They took 7 of us to Las Vegas to make fools of ourselves and sing at Caesar's Palace after we won. They named a dog after, anybody ever watch Everyone Loves Raymond? They named that ugly bulldog after me. And I was on the show. Do you ever see that dog walking around? Shamsky. How do you live that down? I get more questions about that dog than I do about baseball. How does it feel to have a dog named after you? But that wouldn't have happened unless I played for the New York Mets in 1969. I've had a wonderful life, a wonderful career. I do believe when people say to me, "Don't you wish you were playing now and making all the money?" I say to them, "Of course, what are you, crazy?" The minimum salary when I played, just so you get an idea, the minimum salary when I played was $7,000. This is I came up to the big leagues in the 64s, 65. It's now $575,000 minimum salary. The average salary back then with all the big stars in baseball back then was anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 now. I saw an article when the season opened a month or so ago that the average opening day salary was $4,300,000. It was 20-something thousand when I played. So when somebody says to me, "Don't you wish you were playing now?" I say to them, "Of course, what do you think?" But the reality is I wouldn't trade it for this World Series ring that I wear now. And I got a chance to play with and against, thank you. It's actually, it's very dear to my heart. I got a chance to play with, I think, the greatest conglomerate of players in the history of the game. Just in the National League back then, Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, Roberto Clemente, Sandy Koufax, Juan Marichal, Don Drysdale, Billy Williams, Joe Torre, Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, Willie Stargell, Willie McCovey, I mean, the name, Bob Gibson, Steve Carlton, Tom Seaver, the names go on, and that's just the National League. So for me to be able to play against them and with them, I think was to me a big thrill, and to be part of that 69 team. I would never have an opportunity to come here and talk to wonderful people like yourself and share this great night of anniversary with you if I didn't play on that team. Let's be honest, right, Bernie? You would not have invited me, right, if I didn't play. Come on, tell the truth. There would have been no invitation. You would have gone for, let me see, somebody else, I would think. Some 86 Met, I probably, right? But it's really wonderful that I'm able to talk about that team and share those moments, because those moments live on forever. We had a wonderful group of guys. let's go down, just so you remember some of the names. There's Ron Swoboda, myself in right field. Ronnie Swoboda made the great catch in Game 4, right? Game 4. His new line now is, some people had a career, I had a catch. Tommy Agee in center field, those two great plays in center field in Game 3. Do you remember the person running by him telling him he had a lot of room in right field? That was me. He had plenty of room to make those two great catches. Cleon Jones in left field. Great player. Wayne Garrett, Ed Charles at third base, Buddy Harrelson at short, Boswell Weiss at second, Don Clendenin, Eddie Cranepool, who incidentally is doing really well after a kidney transplant last month. He's doing really well. And Jerry Grody behind the plate. And the pitching staff that we had. J.C. Martin behind the plate, Duffy Dyer. I don't want to forget names, but most importantly, the pitching staff, which pitched great that year with Seaver, Kuzman, Gentry, Ryan, McGraw, McAndrew, Kuntz, Cardwell, and Ron Taylor. I mean, those are just names that live on forever. Incidentally, Ron Taylor was a great pitcher on that team, got out of baseball, and was a working engineer, and got out of baseball, went back to med school. He was 36 years old, became a doctor, and was the team physician for the Toronto Blue Jays for 35 years. Ron Taylor on that team. He was definitely the smartest guy on that team, next to all of us. But I just want to say talk a moment about our manager, Gil Hodges, and why I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Thank you. He should be. Right. His numbers as a player are outstanding. He's comparable to Tony Perez, Ron Santo, and Orlando Cepeda. But more importantly than that, he led that team to an incredible year, coming from 9th place, half game out of last place the year before. And for him to take a team and manage it, he was a manager of feel. You don't see that anymore. He knew the players at the end of the bench on his team and how they were going to help us win ball games. And he was able to get everybody involved in the game. And you don't see that anymore. It's all about sabermetrics now, and it's all about printouts. And so Gil Hodges was a manager who managed by feeling the game and knowing the game, and that's the way he won. And I'm hoping in 2020, when he's eligible again to be elected in, I hope he makes it, because he certainly deserves it. But yes, thank you. So for me, anyway, I want to finish up by saying it's been wonderful life for me to be able to share those moments and to express how I feel about being part of a glorious team, and for lack of a better words, the 69 Mets will live on forever. So many things are going on. The current Mets will host a weekend of events. The last weekend of this month, they'll have a reunion. I've got the new book coming out, or it's been out. So many things will be going on, and for me to be able to share these wonderful moments with you and answering questions that I might not be able to talk about. How was it when the black cat ran on the field? Everybody remember the black cat running on the field? Incidentally, just for those of you who don't know, that in the book I interviewed one of the groundskeepers that was still around, and I asked him about that black cat. And just for those of you who don't know, we were playing a game with the Chicago Cubs, and it's the top of the first inning. 50,000 people in the stands. And a black cat comes out underneath the stands, walks right by the on-deck circle, and stares into the Chicago Cub dugout, particularly at Leo DeRocher, the manager. Thank God he didn't come over to our side, because it would have freaked us all out. But I asked the grounds crew, I said, who put that cat out there? And he said, I'm going to tell you something. We never saw that cat before, and we never saw the cat the day after. So somebody was watching over the New York Mets. And I'll finish it off by telling you this last little story. Over the years, I've had 150,000 minimum people come up to me and say, I was at the last game at Shea Stadium when you won the World Series. So I said, great. And I start thinking, the ballpark only held 53,000. So my process of thinking is, if they were there or you were there in your mind, it doesn't make any difference. Because we were all there, because that's how important that team was to all of us and to the city of New York and to the country. Thank you very much. God bless, and congratulations again to everybody.
Let's hear it for Mr. Art Shamsky. Ladies and gentlemen, dance floor is now open. Enjoy your dessert.
Never was a cloudy day. Said you remember, dancing in September, golden is a shiny day. The bells are ringing, and our souls are singing. Do you remember? sign a check. Yo, yo, get straight. Boston, Harlem, Hollywood, Jackson, Mississippi. If we show out, we're gonna show out. Smoother than a fresh drop ticket. Too high, hot tan. Call police or a fireman. Too high, hot tan. Make a dragon wanna retire, man. Too high, hot tan. Say my name, you know who I am. I'm too high, hot tan. Never paying $1,000 money. Bring it down. Girls say hallelujah. Girls say hallelujah. Girls say hallelujah. Cause uptown fun gonna give it to you. Cause uptown fun gonna give it to you. Cause uptown fun gonna give it to you. Saturday night in the spot. Don't believe me, just slide. 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 Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Say it. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Oh, uptown funk you up. Say it. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up.
Yeah, there was a request for a whole round for a simple dance, so let's do that really quickly. Oh, simple talk about the talk about the talk, simple talk about the turn up. Let's go. Simple talk about the talk about the talk, simple talk, yeah. Hey, la, I know. Oh, simple talk about the talk about the talk, simple talk about the talk about the talk, simple talk about the talk about the talk, simple talk, yeah. Hey, la, I know. Yeah, hey, la, yeah, la, I know. We're gonna try. Oh, yeah, hey, la, yeah, la, I know. We're gonna try. Gonna be better. I'll be higher. Oh, gonna be better. Israel. I'll be higher.
Bernie Sokol. Bernie Sokol. Bernie. You're not here. You can't win, Bernie. All right, listen. If you can keep a secret and not tell Bernie he won, we'll do it again. We're gonna do it again. No, you can't do that. Oh, come on. Is Bernie still here? Where's Bernie? Oh, Bernie. Bernie, you worked your kids off to make this happen. Bernie's the winner. Mr. B. Okay. You're getting 7 days. Your choice of your girlfriend or your wife. Okay. All right. Or you can take your new boyfriend on. Okay. All right. Okay. Alaska, Bermuda, Caribbean. You must take it in 2020. Okay. And the cruise is paid for. You'll pay taxes a little bit, and you'll have a wonderful time. All right. Thanks, Rick.